Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, or whenever you're watching this episode. This is episode number 4 of Expert Interview Series 5, Season 5. My name is Sudha Mani, and I am the host of the Expert Interview Show. And this show is all about bringing in experts and learning from them. So that we don't spend more time learning ourselves. So one of the expert told me the other day, you're not producing because you're consuming a lot. So that's what the mission of the show as well. If you're consuming a lot, we won't be able to produce. So if we get an expert to help us do things, we would consume less and do more. So that is the mission of this series. So this series is about you outthink your competition, you outperform and outlast your previous self and a competitors alike. On this channel, I also provide digital marketing tips, business growth, and also technology tips to grow your business. And to thrive in any economy, we've had wars of last 20 months. We need to move forward and see where we are. Today, I have an expert. I've been wanting to bring her for last 2 months, I would say, because it's only recently I found about her in another group. She was an expert in that group, and I wanted to find out because I worked with many writing coaches before, and I've also had them on my show. But most of 3 of them are all biography. There's nothing wrong in writing about your story, but I always felt that I need to write about my system, the system which I have, and how I coach, how I help others. So, and also when they read it, I wanted it to be standalone as well. So when I found out about Jennifer Jones, and I was like, I need to bring this lady in. I need to work with her. I have not worked with her yet, but I've read 2 chapters of her book. Let me be very honest about all these things. But I may finish it before this weekend to get more information on what she's all about as well. And also we will find out about her here. So a little bit about Jennifer. Jennifer Jones has been helping people, coaches, consultants, helping people become happier and more productive and writers since 2001. She trained to teach writing during her PhD at University of California at Davis. And she has taught universities in US and UK. Now coaches and consultants and healers write their credibility building books through working with her. Jennifer's book, there is a book in every expert, that's what I'm reading. You came out to a rave reviews in 2021. I am not doing justice of introducing her, but I would like to bring her on and speak about how she can help us all become those published authors. Hey Jennifer, thank you very much for coming on the show. I don't think I did a justice of reading that intro of yours, but I know you're more than, because we spoke about for about an hour and a half couple of days ago, and you told me that you only help people write their about nonfiction book about their systems or about how they help others. That intrigued me a lot. That intrigued me 2 months ago when I saw you in the other group as well. But tell us, before we go in, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Now you live in UK, not in US. So tell us about what that move was, and then we can move into the meat of the subject.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I've been in the UK since 2007, which is when I met or married my husband, who is English. We, at that time, were both academics, and we didn't want to do the classic American academic couple, New York to LA split.
Yeah.
So we're thinking the worst it can be would be like Southern England to Scotland. But I got really tired of the working here, there, and everywhere because he was the first one to get a permanent job. And so I left academia in 2016. Higher education has been having some struggles, and it was clear that we weren't going to get jobs in the same area, let alone the same city.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking around for, okay, what can I do with my skills? And I realized coaching gives me all the stuff I loved about academia. I still have time for my research. I get to work with writers. Um, so I'm getting to do all the things I wanted to do, but I don't have any of the stuff I didn't like faculty meetings. Um, it is hard being the only one in my business doing all of the things, but it does mean I don't have to sit through meetings. So yeah, that's how I ended up in the UK and as a coach.
Ooh, that's cool because I can relate with you on those boring meetings. I am not a meeting person, but you can't help it. Those are occupational hazard, isn't it? I don't know why they do it, but that seems to be the case. So one of the things which attracted me to your talk and also was the wardrobes and writing. And I was thinking, okay, is it the alliteration of like WW or something along that line? Or is it more of your, how did you come up with that topic? That's the quickest question. So I don't want to put anything into that and let you speak about it.
Alliteration was part of it because where I grew up, they're closets, not wardrobes. But I came up with that because I wasn't happy with the usual analogy that writing coaches use. It's an excellent book, but I really only use one chapter of it because the book's really about writing fiction, called Bird by Bird, written by Anne Lamott. And the third chapter is called Shitty First Drafts. And that one, she's talking about your first draft should be you defecating on the page. The other analogy is you vomiting on the page.
Mm-hmm.
That works because it makes the point that your first draft should be written quickly and you shouldn't worry about the quality of it.
Mm-hmm.
My problem with it is if I were literally to vomit on the page, I'm not then going to organize it and make it pretty. So I wanted an analogy that took us beyond the first draft. And I realized one day while clearing out my wardrobe that the first thing we do is pull all of the clothes out and throw them on the bed.
Yeah.
Okay, you throw all of your words on the page. And then you sort it into what you want to keep, what needs to be amended, and what you want to get rid of. You do the same thing with your words.
Yeah.
And then you put it back in a user-friendly way. And you put your words back in a reader-friendly way. And the final polish of the proofread is like making sure all of your clothes are pressed and the hangers are facing the right same way. And so it does take you from deciding I want to write something to a finished product.
Yes. This reminds me of one of my speaker coaches. Oh God, 8, 9 years ago. What he said is the mess has to age to become a message. So it might, your analogy reminded me of that one. Yes, it's a mess. If we can't make a mess, we won't be able to organize it because that's not how it works, is it? So you also mentioned to me the other day that we can finish off our like almost proofreading state of our book within 4 weeks. And the numbers you gave me really blew me out. Like, we are all busy, whether we are busy or not, we feel, or at least we tell others that we are busy, we don't have time to write whatever we've got in our head. Um, and it could be two prong. One is we don't want to go through that pain, or sometimes, oh, I don't want to write it, it's easier for me to speak it, and all of that excuses we bring in. And the second one is we think that it is going to be a longer process, and I don't want to go through that process of 6 months, 8 months. And you hear that all the by well established authors. Who am I? And all those questions come about. How, you said 4 weeks, tell us how we can go from 0 words to 40,000, 30,000 words. I don't know what your limits are. um how can we go from that in 4 weeks? Is that possible? Or how can we divide that into smaller chunks?
Well, the example of my book, it's not a huge book, obviously, but the bit that I wrote, because there is a foreword and afterword written by other experts, is about 40,000 words.
Uh-huh.
I wrote the first draft in 4 weeks. I never wrote more than 2 hours a day. I rarely wrote more than half an hour in at one time. And I never wrote on weekends. So when you do all the maths, I wrote that in fewer than 40 hours.
Mm.
And that's because I committed to writing a messy draft. Whenever you've had experiences that writing was hard and it took a long time, that's because, to return to the wardrobe analogy, you're trying to fix things while you're throwing them out of your wardrobe. So it'd be like taking out a jacket that you haven't worn in 5 years, tailoring it to fit your body the way it is now, and then deciding whether you want to keep it or send it to the charity shop. If you did that with each piece that you took out of your wardrobe, it would take you months to clear your wardrobe.
Yes.
And you would end up altering a lot of clothes that you ended up not wanting because it really wasn't the fit you didn't like, it was the color. And so if you commit to, and it's easy to do in your wardrobe, just throwing it all on the bed. If you commit to doing that on the page with your first draft, you can get it done very quickly. It wasn't, it was a mess whenever I finished. It was supposed to be a mess when I finished it.
Yes.
And then, I take people through 2 steps of self-editing before you send it to your beta readers and your proofreaders.
Mm-hmm.
So it does get sorted, but the key is to do the sort of brain dump and then do the sorting and then do the polishing. Because if you try to do them all at once, that's where we get writer's block.
Mm.
And you said about people telling themselves that it's easier to speak their story than it is to write it. I know that Word and Google Docs have this. I'm sure other word processing programs have it too, but there's a speech to text function. So you can speak it and it will take it down, and that can be your messy first draft. It's not going to hear everything correctly. Um,
I think that's also the blocker for many, because they get frustrated when they are trying to speak, and these software is not, especially when my pronunciation, because mine is not pure English and neither pure Indian, it's somewhere in between. And I ended up correcting the software more than doing anything, because it would take me more time when I do it at the later date. I don't know how I spoke it. So your suggestion is it is better for us to write it down, no matter if there are any grammatical mistakes or spelling is
yes,
not right, is just write it down. Better.
you have to get it onto the page because you can't edit it until it's there.
Yeah. So what do you mean by two drafts, like two edits, whatever, self edits? At what point would they be doing that two self edits before it goes to beta readers or proofreaders?
So whenever you finish your first draft, and I did mine in 4 weeks, the
Yeah.
first draft, but I don't have children. I didn't have any significant caring responsibilities. If I assume that my clients have more going on in their lives, so I allow 8 weeks for the first draft.
Hmm.
Um, And that really does only mean you need to find 5 hours a week to work on your book. And they don't have to be, and probably shouldn't be all at once. Um, so after you finish the first draft, whether that's 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, then the first revision is looking at the big picture. So you're going through, and the way I have my writers outline, they start with a sentence that makes their main claim. And then they list all of the questions somebody would need to have answered before they believed that claim.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through and you look back at your statement of argument, which is what that sentence is called, and you make sure you've stayed on topic and that each chapter answers the question it needs to answer. So that's the making sure you haven't gone off on a tangent, making sure you haven't written something twice. In my first draft, I wrote the chapter that is now called, now what is it, writer's block, imposter syndrome, and other things that keep writers up at night. I wrote that twice. And you will, whenever you commit to the messy draft, you will sort of come back to things. The second time I wrote it was much better than the first, so I just cut out the first, cut most of the second, and it wasn't intentional that I wrote it twice, but that's what that first revision is for, is to make sure that everything is roughly where it needs to be,
It needs to be.
and you're dealing with big picture stuff. And then the second revision is where you go through the sentences and make sure they make sense. You do your best with punctuation. You run spell check. And you're not trying to make it perfectly polished at that point, because it is going to go to a proofreader.
Yeah.
And I am very insistent everybody has to send their work to a trained professional. I send my work to a trained professional.
Yes.
And I am a trained editor, but you cannot edit your own work. Your brain will read what you meant to say, not what's actually on the page.
Yeah, that's true. That happens to me all the time. I used to be a developer before I moved into coaching and analysis and business consultancy. I used to be a developer, and when we do unit testing, that's one of the things, and it seems to be working all right. When a proper tester team tests code, it's always like, oh, that's not working. And I used to argue with them saying, it works. I tested it. I mean, they come back and say, oh, maybe you have not tested it properly. That used to annoy me a lot. But I agree that we only want to see what we want to see, because we almost know what the results should be. And so we work backwards on that one. Okay. So if you say that 2000 words, maybe I am being over optimistic, and I understand where you're coming from. You don't have kids, and I don't have kids, and we don't know what are the things which would go in writing 2000 words. It's not easy job for a person who has not written much. So if they write 2000 words, so that means 1000 words, which would be around about an hour for them to write those 1000 words every day. So they can, what would you suggest to a person who asks you, oh, should I be writing in the morning or should I write in the evening? When should I set up a schedule to write? What would be the answer? I know what my answer would be.
Um,
And what would be your answer? Because you are a writing coach and you may have come across many people asking this question.
I think you need to stick to what works for you. I get so tired of people saying, well, if you just get up before everybody else in your house, you'll have free time to write. I don't know about you. My brain doesn't work really well at 4 or 5 in the morning. If
Yeah.
I'm up at that hour, it's because my senile cat has gotten me up to get her food or something. I'm not going to be writing then. You need to pay attention to your own rhythms and write at your, I've seen it called tiger hour, what time your brain is most creative and most productive. But I don't like I have to write for 2 hours business either, because I've tried that.
Yes.
When I wrote my PhD, I was teaching the system I still teach. And it was okay for my students' writing to be easy, but mine had to be hard. very common amongst academics. Our writing is supposed to be hard, and we make it so. Um, I could have shaved 2 years off my PhD had I just taken my own advice. But I had it in my head. I had to sit at my computer for 4 hours first thing every morning and write beautiful prose. And if it wasn't beautiful, it got deleted. So I'd get to the end of 4 hours and I might have a sentence. That is soul destroying.
Yes, I know.
And
I
that's why we don't do
understand
that
that.
anymore. It's just not my.
I'm raising my brows is because I am just that person. You wanted it to be perfect and it's not perfect. It's going in the bin. And you don't even realize that there has been, I don't know whether that's happened to you, but there has been a situation always. I say that with um, utmost understanding is because round about like third or fourth day that this all gets deleted all the time. I wish I had not deleted and emptied the bin. I can bring them back so that I can write or you take some of the bits from everything. Does that happen to you at all? So don't delete anything.
I
Just
don't delete anything. I cut it and I paste it into a cut and paste file
yeah.
because
Oh,
then it's there. I don't use most of what I put there, but you never have that moment of I wish I hadn't deleted that. Um, but also with the choosing a writing time and how long you should write for,
yeah.
I insist my clients commit to 10 minutes a day.
10 minutes a
If,
day. Okay.
if 10 minutes becomes half an hour or an hour, great. But if you sit down and you just really feel like you can't write, then I have them write in what's called a ventilation file. This is not mine, it's been around for a long time. Um, and that's where you just vent about why you think you can't write.
Mm,
Usually, you will write yourself out of your block and you'll start writing. But if all you do is write for 10 minutes about why you can't write, you've kept your writing appointment, so you don't have guilt attaching to the act of writing. And then you put it away and go on with your day.
yes.
You come back and try again the next day.
So what happens? Do you think that would revert itself and become a habit, or become a good habit or a bad habit, either way? Um, and then they start really putting in those details and keep up that time of 8 weeks. Is that possible? Because we all start with it. Yeah, when you say someone that you've got to, I am very impatient. If I could finish something in 4 weeks, I would be elated. If like no matter what, I would be jumping up and down, and people might think that I've gone crazy. But we all start with a very good intention of like we've got to finish things as soon as possible, but these writer blocks, these emergency meetings, ad hoc party or visitor coming in, all of this, how how can we get out of, even if we write those, oh, I don't want to feel guilty because I didn't write 10 pages today. So how can we get out of that quickly? Is there any techniques you tell
Well,
your...
that's where the committing to 10 minutes comes in, because you can sit down and write, even if it's just writing about why you don't want to write for
Mhm.
10 minutes,
Yes.
and then you can carry on. Since I've started consistently using that technique,
Yeah.
my blocks don't last more than a day or two. They used to last for months, which is why the PhD took so long. But because whenever if you have a writing appointment with yourself and you don't keep it, then the next day, well, I didn't do it yesterday, so this week isn't going to be perfect. So I'll start again on Monday. And then Monday rolls around and it's the middle of the month. I'll start the first Monday of next month. And it just gets all out of control. Whereas if all you've got to do is write something for 10 minutes, and if you're not feeling it, then you're done, then
Yeah.
you don't have that sort of
Of...
out of control buildup of procrastination, basically.
yeah. Would it, so on that note, like, would it be okay for that person, like, uh, what I do is if I don't write 1,000 words, whatever my goal was for that day. If I don't write 1,000 words, next day I cram it in to write 2,000 words. Is that the right way to go about, or do you like, okay, I didn't write one day, that's fine, I'll write 1,000 what is set out for today, and then let me carry out for the maybe, yeah, instead
Whatever.
of 14 days it would be 15 days, that's fine. So
Well, but if you know, have 1,000 word goal and you only write 500, then the next day you try to write 1,500, but you only write 500, then the next day you're going to try to write 2,000, then it's just going to keep going up. And then eventually you're going to hit a number that you can't write in one day. And that's when you just get frustrated and give up, which is why I go with the 10 minutes, because that doesn't keep multiplying.
ooh, interesting. Interesting. So I'm going to ask you to give us 5 tips on how can we start. The very first thing, you've given us enough to think about. I want you to give, how can we start thinking about what would be the 3 or 5 tips, whichever is quicker, for us to get out of that block of, number one, the imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Why should I be writing in first place? All I'm using is whatever I've been taught. This happens with the holistic healers who wants to become a writer. That happens a lot for them. And the second is for a person who is more science based or very steps oriented. How can we start? Where can we start to get rid of all these nonsense things which are blocking us?
With the imposter syndrome, um, that often comes down to believing that you have to be the expert in your field and you have to know everything.
Yes.
Nobody knows everything. There is no the expert. So the first is to remember that your book isn't trying to have the last word on anything. You are joining a larger conversation. And once you start thinking about it as just part of a conversation, then that's easier to join. You join those all day.
Yeah.
Um, for the So if you're looking at the more holistic healers versus the more scientifically minded, the holistic healers might feel that they don't have a system because they will say that they tailor everything they do to each client. And yes, I'm sure they do, but there are going to be certain things that they do with each client. You
Yes.
start in roughly the same place with each of them, finding out what they need.
Yeah.
So you can, in your book, go through just do a case study of a fictional client,
Yeah.
just to give people an example of how you work and what does it mean to be a holistic healer? Why did you become one? These are questions people would have about why you do what you do. They're going to want to read that because your book, as a business owner, whenever you're writing the kinds that I'm talking about, the purpose of that is to help people who might want to work with you decide whether they want to work with you,
Yeah.
to support people who can't or won't, for whatever reason, work for you. Maybe they're in a wildly different time zone or they just can't afford to work with you. But also to continue to support the people who have worked with you, because your book is going to be more complete than their notes.
Yes.
So that will give them an overview of your system they can go back to if they start to get stuck later. And, oh, yeah, that's what she would say to do here. So that's what your book needs to do. It doesn't need to be, you're not trying to be the world expert on Reiki. You're trying to explain to your Reiki clients how you work with them and what they can expect to get from it.
Yes.
For the scientifically minded, those people tend to worry that it's just going to be too dry. And if you did just list the steps, it would be. But you're also going to explain why step one is step one. And whenever you start asking why to everything, you basically need to
Come up with
the
a story.
voice in your head of a toddler. Why? Why? Why, mommy? And just keep going through that. That's going to get you to tell a story.
Yes.
And that's where people are going to be interested, because just like the holistic healer, you could go through how you would treat a hypothetical patient or client and go through the steps, and you're telling that hypothetical client's story and how you would work with them, and that's what's going to make it engaging.
On that note, from when you were explaining that to me, my head was going, hey, can I write case studies as chapters? Can I, like, for example, I might say, oh, I work with coaches, this is how I work with them, because these are the things which they need to know. Before, I work with consultants because the coaches and consultants have got a totally two different way of method of delivering the service. They might be delivering the same thing. So, can case studies, on that note, can case studies be the chapters?
They can be the chapters, or you can have, and this works really well for the more scientifically minded, you can have it's not always dry, but I know people always feel like it's dry. You can have the explanation of what you do.
Framework, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can have the case study to show how it works
Every
practically.
steps of the. So I have got a system which is called Awesome, the online success blueprint, online business success blueprint. Can't even say my own framework. So if I take each and every word of that, sorry, each and every letter of that awesome word
Mhm.
has got another acronym to it, like attract has got an acronym. So if I start breaking that into those steps and insert the case studies, that would really become a story, a book. It could be a story, you never know. So it will become a book. Oh, that's very interesting. Look, so that also highlights your signature system, isn't it? That differentiate yourself from the other who may be doing the similar job
Yes.
of yours. Oh, that's really interesting. Anyway, so you have a webinar coming along and you also have an online course. Tell us about those things, and who would be going for online course, and you do group coaching, you've got a Facebook group. So tell us about how this whole thing works. If I want to come and work with you after reading your book or watching your webinar, how do I come and work with you? What would be my first step? And where can I go and find all these information? Maybe there are so many questions. I need to break those questions out.
Um, but Sudha will put links to many of these things
Yeah, of
below
course,
the video.
yes.
So don't, if I share the screen, don't try to squint and read the thing. The webinar is on the 28th of October. It is one that I offer periodically. The next time I'm offering it is on the 28th, 1 p.m. UK time. This webinar is really the end of the beta launch of my revamped course. Up until now, I've always run the course with live workshops, which I love doing. But whenever you have a client in Australia and a client on the East Coast in America, and I'm in the UK, trying to find a time that we can all meet
Yeah.
is just impossible. So I've recorded the workshops, and that has the advantage of we don't have time zone differences. You can watch them when it suits you, but also, you know, I allow 8 weeks for writing your first draft. Sudha is probably not going to take 8 weeks.
Yes.
And she's not going to want to wait around for 3 or 4 weeks after she finishes her first draft to get the first
You've got me
revision
right,
workshop.
girl. You've got me right. I am of that person who just visit through first and
Mhm.
then come back and look at the subjects. Go on. Sorry.
So with the recorded version, then you can go at your own pace. If you want to get the first what would be 12 weeks of work done in 8 weeks, then do it. But if you want to take 12 weeks or 14 weeks because life gets in the way, you can do that too. So that's I'm doing the beta launch. This is the first time I've done the workshops as recorded. So right now you get sort of the premium version of the recorded workshops plus the um,
Coaching.
fortnightly live coaching calls for the price of just the recorded workshops. So you're saving £1,200 there. I'm also starting too many new things at once, but they are all getting done, and I can sleep next year. I am also launching a. Yeah, I'll share this screen. This will be easier. But these are the steps that we've been talking through. So first bonus is the coaching calls, which will be an upgrade later, and the Facebook group where I can give you feedback on things, because like I'll sometimes ask you for, what is your statement of argument? So you'll put that in, then I can give written feedback, but also the rest of the group can get excited about your book because your statement of argument is going to be interesting to them. But I'm also launching these two things, and I'm thinking about combining them into one because I don't like trying to figure out, well, should this go in the book launch club or the marketing package? So that you'll have support to help you start building your audience when you start writing your book. You don't start building your audience after it's published. That's too late.
I think that's one of the things people has to understand. I literally gave up. She was thinking that I'm pitching for her business. That was not my case at all. I was telling her why she should start building her audience so that by the time she finishes, she has to have audience to sell. But she was not in agreement with that at all. And this happens 90% of new authors, 90%, or maybe sometimes more, 99, I would say. So you help them with that one as well. Oh, that's interesting. Great.
And the big one, especially earlier in your process, is turning, say, paragraph or a page from your draft into a Facebook post. So you're not having to write your social media posts and your book. You're using bits from your book for your social media posts. And those are evergreen. How you focus your topic is not going to change from the time I wrote my book to 20 years from now. So that is evergreen content. So as you're writing your book, you're going to be filling this, and I have a planner that you can fill in with these evergreen posts. And whenever you get to the end of your book, then you start posting them from the beginning. So, my book's probably going to give me, because I haven't pulled stuff from the whole book yet, because I didn't start doing this until later, because I learned these things as they go along. You're learning from my mistakes.
Yeah, that is more important because we all struggle, don't we? What do I post today? Even though it's not that we are lacking of ideas, it's that we are overwhelmed of those ideas. How can we organize and put it as a post? How can we group them into goes in the week 1, this goes in the week 2? Oh, that's cool. So you're almost giving two things in content marketing coaching and also your book writing coaching.
If you've written a book, you will never again wonder, what should I post today? Because my book's on the short side, and I would guess it's going to have about 18 months worth of posts if I want to post something different 5 days a week. So whenever you get to the end of the 18 months, you just start back again with post 1. Nobody's going to remember that it's already been out there.
That's one of the things which I've got to get my head around. I always remember everything what I do, and I also remember if it's of some interest to me, I do remember, oh, they posted that 2 days ago, 10 days ago, or something like that.
But you're not going to remember 18 months later.
Yeah, that is true. So what an interesting way of thinking. Great, thank you. I learned something.
And then you will also get, I'm collaborating with lots of other experts. You're going to get SEO for authors so that you can optimize your website to help bring you readers. Help with, I'm doing the marketing plan. I've got some custom graphics that will be customizable, so you can change it to your brand colors. I've recently started working with somebody who's going to help you use podcasting to promote your book, which you can really start doing once you've finished the first draft, because you need to have a firm idea of what the book is going to cover.
It's all about
before you start trying to talk about it. But yeah, you can start promoting it that way
Yes,
too.
that's brilliant. Um, you don't, people don't realize that you need a completed book or finished book at end of the day, but it's all about, oh, come and join me in a group, or come and join, so you're growing, or they feel that they're growing with you.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the experience you want to give your audience, that they are with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
When they, oh, that's cool. So that package is out with your initial launch. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all of this is a free bonus if you purchase by the end of October.
Okay.
So the total value is 5597, and that's what it will cost you. Now that's going to go up considerably from the 1st of November, but that's what it would be now. I am also starting, just recently started offering a publishing package. If you purchase that now, you will get it for 50%. Actually, if your book's longer than 40,000 words, you'll get more than that, because it's just going to be a flat fee of £600. Unless your book has lots of pictures, in which case we'll have to talk, because that takes a lot more time. But for the publishing package, I stop sharing this. Where did it go?
That happens all the time
I
to me.
help you buy your ISBN numbers.
Uh-huh.
You will own them. And this is what really irritates me with other publishing or self-publishing support people. You will own them. You will own all of the rights to your book. I will format the interior. You'll get to, I'll give you some options for the font combinations and layout and so on.
Yeah.
I'll get all of that done so it's ready to upload to the various sites for both paperback and ebook versions. And then I will walk you through the process of putting it on Amazon and Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark do the print on demand. Like, you can look for my book on, say, the Waterstones website. If you order it from that, then Ingram Spark are actually the distributors. So, and then I will help you get on the database that
Which
allows
one is
Waterstones to
the,
know my book exists.
sorry, what did you say? The last.
The final thing is that I also help you figure out what categories and things, because there's a UK database, and that's why Waterstones knows my book exists.
Oh,
So
okay. That's interesting. I've not heard about that one. When I published it without any knowledge of what I had to. That was about 7 years ago or something like that.
the self-publishing is changing so much.
Yeah, so much, and I am learning every day, I would
Mm.
say. So on that note, if we could find a way, if we could find way to finish off in 4 weeks, how, these are the things which we need. Number one is marketing. Number two is help with putting it on various publications. So when you mentioned Ingram and also Amazon, I know the Kindle publishing, you don't get that much out of when you go on print on demand. You don't get that much of a commission. So which one is the best, Ingram or Amazon or Lulu or
About the same. Ingram Spark, you control the price. So my book price has stayed the same on there since I put it on there, because I haven't gone in to change it.
Mhm.
I sometimes offer it for less on my website, but I only ship in the UK. Amazon seems to change the price of my book daily.
Yeah.
They cut it in half. They give a 75% discount. They both offer 40% to the writer. It is worth having it on both platforms just for wider distribution.
Yeah.
But as a writer, and especially this kind of book, you're not going to make huge amounts of money from book sales unless You just devote yourself to book
Oh, I
promotions.
love that. I love that you
Uh,
said that one,
that
because there has been
that's not what it's
misleading.
for. It's to bring you clients.
Yes, it's misleading. I'm going to become a millionaire by selling my book, which is not going to. It's.
I mean, if
I
you
think
write the next Harry Potter, you will. But really, if you're not J.K. Rowling or Stephen King, you're not going to be rich from book sales. And actually, they're not even rich from book sales. They're rich from movie deals.
yeah, that's true. That's and also it may be true for fiction where you just consume for the sake of consuming, whereas this is not the consuming part of it. This is for a certain amount of people who have got interest in either developing themselves or working with you to develop themselves. So that in itself divides into it's also very good in giving something tangible, isn't it? Free, tangible, free, so that they know what the information, what they are getting.
I know of this is pre-COVID. I know of writers who just take copies of their book and give those out instead of business cards.
Yeah,
Um,
that's expensive business card, yes, but at the same time it is also more informative. It's not just a piece of card.
yeah, you're going to get a lot more attention from people if you offer them a book instead of a tiny piece of paper that's going to end up being used as a bookmark.
Yeah.
Um, I, whenever you see my book promotion posts, it always goes to a free download of a PDF of the whole book.
Hmm. Yeah, you've given me
So
you've given me the link, so I'll put that link in. And if you need a hard copy, if you're like one of those people who would rather read a hard copy than a PDF, then you would find it a lot easier to order it on Amazon. Or I don't think I've got those links. Please do send me those links, and I'll put those links in um,
I can
down
also
below in
send
the
you a link
description.
to my shop. If you're in the UK, you can order it from me, and then you get a bookmark that goes with it. Um, but I also have links for um, other booksellers in other countries on that page. So
Oh, that's cool.
you'll end
Please,
up with a
please do
huge
send
list
those.
of.
Please do send those links, because your offering is a lot more than what I've seen elsewhere. At least what I've seen elsewhere. I'm not saying there are not other people, but from what I believe me, people, I have been researching for writing coach for last 3-4 years or so, since the Kindle publishing has changed. And also when I took, that was 8 years ago, I took my book off thinking I would do a second edition. But this is what all I've come across is there are so many people who help you with fiction. I don't think that I am a creative person who could write fiction. I would rather write my own, how I help people, how they can learn from my own story of how they can. It's similar to expert interview series. If they can learn from my experience and not make those mistakes and move forward, then it is a winning proposition for everyone. It's a win-win situation, not like you're just consuming because I fancy writing, and you're consuming. It's not that at all. Whenever we spend time, we've got to make sure that it's valuable transaction.
I've created my system so that it is sort of a one-stop shop.
Yes.
I do also still do some proofreading, and I give my book writing clients a discount. So that I get
That
lots of
is not
writing
included
clients. I'm
in
not going to
your.
be able to do all of the proofreading, but I do also help you
Yeah, that is
understand.
not included in your package, is it? The
No.
proofreading is not included. It's so in order for us to be clear on this, the outcome is you will have a proofreader ready copy
Mhm.
of your book, and you would have marketing plan on how to market your book when that happens. And also you would have all the, if they are taking up that bonus package of where they need ISBN number, formatting the book, having the right fonts, having you don't do book covers, do you? You
So you would
recommend.
still need a book cover designer and a proofreader.
Yeah.
If you wrote, say, a 40,000 word book
Yeah.
and you took up this offer for the beta launch
Yeah.
and the launch of the £600 editor publishing package, and then you hired me to do your proofreading, then the total is $21.97. I paid almost twice that just to publish my book.
Okay, so that is with reading and not
That's the proofreading, so it's not the cover. So you'd still need £200 to £500 depending on your designer. And I am getting some designers to. They won't really be advertising, but I'm letting them put sample book covers so that you can see what they do. They can put their prices, and then you can contact them, or you can find your own book designer. But you do need a professionally designed book cover, or because we judge no longer even just by the cover, we judge by the thumbnail.
Yeah, we do judge by the thumbnail. I agree with you on that. And also you do need brand coloring. If you could incorporate brand coloring and branding and brand fonts and all of that into yours. I'm telling that because I do similar kind of work. Anyway, so this 2000 and 200 plus 500, I'm just marking it up on the higher end of it. So 2700, would they get any copies of the book for this, or is it just for the soft copy of the books?
Yeah, I would give them a PDF version. That's not the ebook version, but they would have a PDF version if they wanted that to be able to distribute. It doesn't include copies of the book, but I will show you how to order those from either Amazon or Ingram Spark. And you're not paying cover price, you're paying the author's price. So, and that depends, the amount of discount they give you depends on how many you order. I ordered 100 copies and it came out at about £2 or just over £2 a copy. So yeah, but you can order 50 copies, you might pay £2.30 per copy, but that's
that depends on the
sell them for
£10
or £12 or whatever. Yeah.
Or people can very well, if they want to support their local printers, they can go to the local printers and get it printed as well. And I've seen many people who have opted for that one in the past. Oh, I would rather support my local printers. That is very good deed. Yes, it might be a little bit expensive because they're local printers, but at least you'll have that satisfaction that you've helped your fellow small business owner.
And you'll have the document that is uploaded to the big distributors. So if you want to, that I would assume would be what your local printers would need. So yeah, you're free to take that wherever you want. It's your book.
Ooh. Thank you very much. We've gone overboard as usual. And I always say to people, 30 minutes. It never ends in 30 minutes. So before I go, do you have any last minute things which you would like to convey to the audience? I will put in all the details, your links below, along with your website address and all of that. Do you have any message to the audience?
Remember, whenever you're writing, to take it one step at a time and let it be easy. It doesn't have to be hard. And finally, we will put the link for my group. If you decide to join that, make sure you answer all the questions, because my assistant has been told to reject anyone who doesn't. So answer the questions, because we've had a few bots come in whenever I was just letting everyone in. So, and she doesn't have time to go search to make sure you're a person.
Yeah, that is important, isn't it? You need to. I do have another policy. If I had invited someone, I don't make them answer the questions as well. So it says,
Yeah.
It's easier that way because I invited, I know them.
Yeah.
However, thank you very much. Please do get in touch with Jennifer for some. She is Dr. Jennifer Jones. I should have paid the right respect to you. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Fine.
It's not easy to get the doctorate, so I should have paid the respect there. So Dr. Jennifer Jones, she is a writing coach, and she will help you publish your first book, maybe,
Mhm.
or in my case, it might be the second book. So it is better to get a coach if you want to finish in the shortest amount of time without the overwhelm. I think that is where we all go back. It's not because we don't have content. It's not because we don't know how to write or how to speak. We are helping others. Why not tell our story through books?
Yeah.
Books still is the place where people think that is how I need to read.
Yeah.
Even for a techie like me, I respect authors who has got a physical book because that in itself skyrockets your authority,
Mhm.
your expertism, if that is a word, and also brings that, hey, this person, if they could put what they help us with on the paper, that means they know what they are talking about.
Yeah.
That confidence is what you need from
Mhm.
people, so they don't bargain on, oh, can you do it for this? I don't have money.
Yeah.
That kind of story, if you're fed up with that kind of story, get the book published. I am going to. Please look out for my book. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, and these are the type of the content which I bring to the channel, please do subscribe. And also tell us what the other people you would want on this show, so we can bring in those experts and help you grow quicker in the shortest amount of the time. Not the shortcut, shortest amount of the time. There is a difference, people. Thank you very much. Until I see you next, be good, be joyful, and be happy. Take the responsibility, whatever it is. Bye for now.